again and welcome to Newfoundland and Labrador Studies 2205. I'm Miss Fleming. This is Unit 2, The Roots of Our Culture, Section 4, Lesson 1, on Changes in Lifestyle. Before we begin this lesson, I wanted to talk a bit about this section. This section will give an overview of the transition of Newfoundland and Labrador into a European settlement. It is important to note that as we study history, we must not shy away from the realities of that history, the conflicts, the tragedies, and the injustices. This history shapes our culture and identity and must be preserved for future generations. So first, let's talk about those settlers from Europe in the 18th century. Early settlements were very different from what developed in the 18th century itself. Early settlements were essentially fishing camps or work camps occupied by young single men. These settlements were active only in the summer, with no one or very few staying behind in the winter months. The few planters who stayed kept links between them and their families in England or Ireland. Both English and French settlements were very similar in demographics, that is until 1713 and the Treaty of Utrecht, which banned French settlement. A very important member of settlements were the fishing servants. Little is known about the life of the visiting fishing servants. Many were illiterate, and therefore there are no written primary sources of information, such as diaries or personal accounts. And it is likely that life was very laborious. The fishing season was short and intense, and servants were forced to work long hours with little time to sleep or rest. Those who worked for merchants often lived in barracks called cookrooms on their employers' premises. And servants were paid a small wage and given their keep. This is a present-day photograph of the Lester Garland premises, which was a fish merchant in Trinity. It is now the home of Rising Tide Theatre, which now produces theatre in the summertime. Servants who worked for buyboat keepers and planters usually boarded with their employers, sleeping in the lofts of stages or outbuildings. The lives of fishers and servants were taken up with their occupation. Workers spent most of their waking hours catching and curing fish. Before the season began, they spent their time on infrastructure, repairing and building stages, flakes, and cookrooms. Workers rowed to fishing grounds in small open boats each morning and returned only when their boat was full. And on shore the catch was unloaded. Headers removed the cod's heads and their guts, which meaning their innards, their organs. Splitters cut out the backbone, and then salters covered the fish with salt for curing. With 18th century settlement, there came new opportunities. As settlement expanded, settlers found opportunities for new economic activities. In the 1670s, some settlers in Bonavista were involved in fur trapping in the winter. In the early 1700s, reports indicated the development of freshwater fishing in rivers around Bonavista and Notre Dame Bays. One such river is the Exploits River, which goes through part of Central and into Grand Falls. As settlers moved northward, they discovered seal herds on their migration. Sealing became very important for year-round settlement for those who settled on the northeast coast and in Labrador. And although the soil was poor, subsistence farming was an important activity as well to keep people nourished. So now it's time to review and complete the activities in Brightspace, and I hope that you have a good day.